It's not uncommon for creators to fall into the trap of wanting to create content that's really, really broad. The problem with that is you will struggle to connect to your viewer, and you're going to struggle to constantly come up with content ideas. Most importantly, you really want people to watch more and you want them to come back, but probably that's not happening. We completely understand this struggle, and luckily, we're going to help you fix that today. Coming up next.
Hey, welcome to the Video Creators Podcast presented by vidIQ. You know how you put a lot of time and energy into your YouTube channel for not nearly enough growth? Yep, we get it. We are here today to help you change that.
Hello, creators. How are you guys? It's great to see you here for another Video Creators Podcast episode like we do every Monday, brought to you by vidIQ. We're just hanging out, sharing more advanced growth tips and tactics, next level strategy, growing your business, helping you reach more people and change their lives. I'm hanging out today with two of the YouTube strategists here on the team, Sam and Blake. Hey guys, what's going on?
Howdy, howdy.
I am super excited. Oh, howdy. We're stealing that again.
It's back.
Yeah.
It's back.
Yeah, it's that kind of Monday today.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I just booked my flights to go to Vid Summit in this coming October. It's gonna be my first time meeting everybody in person. We were just discussing everyone's heights because that's a weird thing that I find interesting when I meet people for the first time. I don't know. I always assume people are taller than me for some reason. I don't know. Maybe I just have my kid at heart when I see people online. I'm like, you're probably gonna be like this, and then you end up being shorter than me. But anyways,
well, you never know. And you see somebody
topic
on a screen all the time because we all work remotely, so we've never seen each other in person before. So
we haven't.
You never know.
We're gonna have to record the podcast live.
Yes.
That'll be fun.
Yes.
Coming up.
Yeah, and that's the benefit of working remote too. I don't have to see Sam every single day, so
I know you definitely don't want that.
I'll take the risk and go see a Vid Summit once, but hopefully that's the first and last time.
Well, I'm looking forward to hanging out with the two of you in real life.
Thank you, Ingrid. Thank you.
Every week we love to highlight a creator that we worked with here at Video Creators, and this week I sat down with Russ, who has a channel called Mana Performance Golf, all around physiotherapy for golfers to really up your game. And here's a bit of our conversation together.
We own a brick and mortar practice called Mana Performance Therapy. We're based in Rochester, New York, which is Western New York. Mm-hmm. And we do a lot of work with golfers. And I would say my specialty is definitely golf and golf performance, and rehabilitating people from golf injuries. And so we decided, hey, listen, we have so much strong following here in Rochester with regards to golf. How can we take the information that we're teaching our golfers on a day-to-day in-person standpoint, and then potentially bring it to, let's say, a larger mass and a larger population? And so we decided to create a YouTube channel. It's called Mana Golf Performance.
So what are some of the kind of the roadblocks I guess you guys have run into with your channel along the way?
I was always of the reverse engineer process. I would always shoot the content and then, come up with the thumbnails, titles, and then all the and so when going through 30 days and saying, hey, listen, I need you to think of the thumbnail, think of the title, think of the content you want to create, write a script for it, come up with all your kind of process behind that, and then shoot the content. That was a huge game changer for me. That was something that I really didn't do. I was just like, hey, let's shoot the content, and then from there, we'll figure it out. Mm-hmm. And so kind of reverse engineering that process where now you're kind of coming up with the script, figuring out like what you're going to say and how you're going to say it and what the pitch looks like, and then creating the content around that. I think that was the biggest change for us in terms of figuring out how best to kind of engage with our audience, because I think at the end of the day, all these roadblocks that we have with running a business and, having a family and doing all this stuff, at the end of the day, we still want to help more people, right? And I think the best way to do that is to have a channel that is, one, going to grab your audience's attention right away, but also specific to what they want to learn and what they want to kind of really, truly kind of pursue.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I guess on the topic, I guess now that we've done, a one-on-one consultation, 30 days and all those sorts of, like, what's some of the key takeaways that you've grabbed from those that you're going to be implementing or you are implementing right now, like really focusing on?
Yeah, I think, the thumbnails become so important, right? And I think, as much as you want to put your branding in there and things like that, or if people don't know who you are, if you're a relatively new channel, it doesn't really matter what your branding is. Right. They need to know, like, hey, listen, if I'm going to do golf, they need to see a thumbnail that shows the golf course and shows what we're talking about and how best to kind of pitch that. So they're more intrigued to click on that and then figure out how do you funnel them into your content? How do you get them to hook and stay and things like that? And so I sound like a pitch for 30 days right now, right? Or Video Labs. But I think that's really key. I think when you look at your thumbnails and understanding too, most people are watching them on mobile. So your thumbnail is super, super small, right? So when you're editing it in Canva or Adobe or whatever it looks like, you've got a huge big picture of it. But I think, like you told me too, Blake, like you got to scale everything much bigger than you expect, right? In order for you to really grab people's attention when they're scrolling through your YouTube on their mobile platform, if something's going to grab their attention, it's going to stand out over everything else. It's got to be vibrant. It's got to stick out. And it's got to be really, really attention grabbing to make sure that they're going to click on it. And then from there, then you start the video content, right? The thumbnail, I think, becomes so key. The thumbnail has to match up the title. And then from there, then you get into your content, right? So you can create the greatest content in the world, but it's not going to grab anyone's attention if you don't have a thumbnail that's going to support it.
Let's say there's somebody else trying to grow their channel like you, or, starting out. Like, what is a piece of advice you'd give them knowing what you know now?
Yeah, I think play the long game, right? I think the important part, people want to kind of, grow big overnight. And while that's, I think, more power to you. I think the important part is understand the long game, right? Mm-hmm. There are going to be a lot of trials and tribulations, and you're going to think you're creating the best content, and also you're not getting the views. And it's like, there's a lot of trial and error that's involved in this stuff. And so I think the important part to a lot of new creators that are trying to start this stuff is that, understand that while we all want to grow, we all want to be able to impact more people and grow our channels, grab new subscribers, whatever that looks like. I think at the end of the day, like, you got to play the long game, right? Mm-hmm. Each and every opportunity that you do to create content is an opportunity to learn more, right?
Yes.
And then you look at your analytics and get an idea. So, okay, well, based on the content that I want to serve to, is it reaching the people that we want? And if not, then how can we change things even just a little bit or microly? Like how can we do it in small scales to be able to make a big impact? And so I think in that sense, for a lot of new creators who may be frustrated, again, like, let's be honest, there are frustrations with this stuff as well, right? We want to try and grow as big as we can. But again, you've got to reach the right audience. And it's got to be the right type of message that you're trying to portray to these people.
No, that's great. That's really, really great advice for sure. Well, Russ, thank you again for so much for your time. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah, Blake, I appreciate you guys and everyone at Video Creators. You guys are doing an amazing job. I listen to the podcast all the time, and just very, very honored and humbled to be part of the community and continue to kind of grow the channel, which is great.
I love what Russ was saying about playing the long game and trusting the process when it comes to YouTube, understanding that every video is an opportunity to learn and improve. And if you're someone who'd like some support in that journey when it comes to getting some encouragement and motivation around your content, we'd love to sit down chat with you and hear about your story, about your struggles, and really be that voice of encouragement for you. So if you'd like to work with us, I'd encourage you to go to videocreators.com/discovery calls and book a 15-minute session with Sam, myself, or whoever's available, and we'd love to get to know you a bit more.
One of the struggles that we bump into with a lot of creators is really a lack of understanding their audience. And even if you have a good handle on that, I guarantee you there is some little gem that you will pull out of this podcast episode today. The problem is when you don't fully, and I mean fully, deeply understand who you're crafting content for, you're going to struggle to gain subscribers and views. You're going to have an inefficient content strategy. You will have a loss of potential growth, and basically you'll end up dissatisfied and discouraged on the platform. And we don't want that for you. Well, our goal today is really to help give you clarity around this. So I'd like to start off, guys, today talking about specificity. When we say, because this is something that we say all the time here at Video Creators, is we say optimize for people and not robots. How exactly is that the key to YouTube success? Let's start there.
Well, the first kind of thought that comes to my mind is just the more human connection, the emotional connection that happens with that sort of approach, because we work with a lot of people who still are kind of under the mindset of, well, I got to find the right SEO, got to put the right keywords in all of my titles. And that's the main strategy driving the whole channel. And if that is kind of the fuel that's keeping you, pushing you forward, that sort of disconnect between that and, what you could experience with really optimizing for the person, if that's kind of fueling your strategy, you're going to win every time if you've got a good idea of who you're talking to, and it's not necessarily just trying to like hack the system or find the right magic phrase or that kind of a thing. When you can really create a connection with the viewer, that will be the thing that gets them wanting to come back week after week and watch all your videos.
Yeah, I feel like and those common things we hear about when it comes to SEO and those sorts of things, it's just a lack of understanding of how YouTube actually works and what it's looking for. So it's not anyone's fault to like, okay, we're approaching content in the wrong way. It's just like you just don't know exactly what what YouTube's trying to accomplish, which is really just trying to service the right video to the right person at the right time, keeping the platform longer and keep you engaged, making sure you're satisfied. Once you understand those principles, then the idea of being specific about who your audience is makes things that much more clear and understanding of why I need this, because it helps YouTube. YouTube's looking for people, again, the right video for the right person. If I know who I'm trying to speak to, that helps YouTube in the long run service it. But also, too, when it comes down to even just content ideas, I work with creators who come in to consultations very defeated, very burnt out. Like, I don't know what else to make. I have no idea what other ideas are out there. And I'd say 9 times out of 10, it comes out of the lack of understanding of who they're trying to speak to. And the more we talk about it, the more we dig deeper into who this person is. I constantly hear from people, oh, I have so many ideas now. It just triggers a mass amount of ideas for their content, for their channel. So it's that powerful.
It's nice to see that release in those light bulb moments. I'm curious, I'd love to kind of dig a little bit here. What are probably some of the biggest light bulb moments that you guys have experienced with creators around this? Like, do you have any specific examples that might be practical for the audience at this moment?
Yeah, maybe not one particular channel, but more actually a lot of channels that have had a light bulb moment, more around kind of a mindset shift. It's kind of the idea of like correlation versus causation, because a lot of the channels that we work with, we'll kind of start things off by kind of asking you like, who are we trying to reach out there? Who's this person? Kind of the ideal subscriber. And every time, well, not every time, but a lot of the time, the first answer is, well, if I look in my demographics and my analytics, this is who's here right now. And so it's very much, if we're kind of in this hamster wheel of we're always just looking behind us or looking at who's already here and we're making content for that person, it takes a bit of a mindset shift to look ahead and be like, well, first of all, is that the person that we want here? Is that actually the audience that we want? If it's not, there's a bit of an issue that we can tackle and start to go after the right person that we really want to, like the ideal viewer that we want to land on our channel. But with that mindset shift too, if we're setting our eyes forward on the people who don't know who we are yet, even that, like Blake, what you were just saying about content ideas, that can sometimes unlock something too, as far as my audience is out there. They have no idea who I am yet. What problems are they running into? What do they need to kind of take their next step to potentially click on a video and become a part of our audience? Even a small little mindset shift like that can really have a big impact.
Yeah,
I love. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Blake.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I love how you kind of put it, the idea of like, if you're constantly looking backwards instead of forwards. I think that's a common trait of people. Again, I hear a lot of like, my analytics say, this age group, this demographic. And it's like, okay, well, who do you actually want? So the idea of looking forward towards that is a really good, I think, just helpful mindset shift of you are in control of who you want to reach. And it's remembering that, yes, the content will be surfaced to other people, and you will always get people outside of your audience who will find you and decide to follow you. But as long as you're focused on who you want and who you're in control of who you want, that's going to be really beneficial.
I feel like one of the bigger light bulb moments that I've personally had, but then also just really kind of seen just working on this channel too, those pieces of content that go really, really far, it's because we've really honed in on the true struggle of the ideal viewer. Right? So like, in even my own personal channel, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this also on your channel, when you approach content and you really truly think about not just who you're making it for, but who's watching. And I think that's kind of a little bit of a flip, right? Because we're making something for somebody, but the key is they have to actually watch it. So if you really start thinking about their habits, what kind of content do they like to watch? What is it that they're looking for? What is their deepest struggle that you can connect with them in some emotional way, as you guys so eloquently put earlier? When you make it like you are actually having a conversation with that person directly in the camera, that can be a real powerful thing. And that is where you'll end up getting that really great engagement. You'll get them deeper into your videos, right? And you'll probably either get them to subscribe without asking them, because of course I don't want you to ask them, but they'll also continue to watch more. And then they'll most likely also engage in some way, because when you can connect with your audience, it makes, I don't know about you guys and your habits on YouTube, but when I connect with a creator, like I just watched a Peter McKinnon video yesterday. Yes, I'm talking about Peter McKinnon, but he's one of the channels that he puts something out and I can't move on. I have to watch the video because I feel very connected to him and his content. I don't comment on a lot of videos all the time, but for some reason, I always want to leave a comment regardless of the topic. So that's the power of really thinking about who you're telling your story to and why, right? Any other thoughts?
Yeah, maybe just to build on that a little bit more. I think there's this subtle shift in language too when you're filming that comes with that sort of approach, because typical kind of YouTube lingo nowadays is the, hey, what's up guys? And it's just kind of the generic, you're talking to this blanket group of people. But when you can really understand your audience's pain points and their struggles and what they really want, like what is the desire that they have, not just on like a what level, material level, but like what is the why behind that? What do they actually want in their life? If you can understand these things and speak to those, it's going to feel a lot more like a one-on-one relationship kind of a thing. It's, the viewer is going to feel like you understand them. And when they're kind of making those decisions, even subconsciously in their head of like, is this channel for me? Is this a channel that I want to subscribe to? Even in the future, when ideally you've kind of kept them throughout your video and then you're landing on their homepage the next day, those sorts of decisions of like, am I going to click or not? A lot of those are kind of turned into these green check marks. If you can really make them feel like they're in the right place and you understand them as the creator.
I feel like it would be probably a practical thing for us to do for the audience right now, is because one of the mistakes that I see a lot of creators make is, they come up with their ideal viewer, but they don't really mine deep enough. So how would you approach that?
I don't know about you guys, but I typically have to get out of the mindset of just demographic information. That stuff's important, age, gender, like where do they live, that kind of stuff. What language do they speak? All kinds of different things. It's of course important to know those things, but that's not where it stops. And I think it stops there for a lot of creators, or sometimes they even have multiple people. Well, we've got some of our audiences 18 to 24, but we also have some of our audiences, 50 to 65. And it's usually the question that I ask is, well, those are two very different people. I would imagine they probably have very different problems and struggles and obstacles and desires. They're in very different places of life. So usually when I press into that conversation, it's more of like a story. Like, tell me about this person's story. Where are they at in their life? If, let's say, just for example, it's a 18 to 24-year-old person, usually I'll kind of try to help get the conversation going with, okay, well, are they a student? It sounds like they might be in college. If they're taking classes, do they have a lot of free time? Do they not have a lot of free time? They probably don't have a ton of expendable income. How does that affect where your channel comes in to meet them in their story? So there's a lot that you can kind of unpack and get into from there.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think there's a lot of, when I'm trying to help creators think about their audience specifically, there's different ways to approach it. You can create someone fictitious that you want to target. It can be whatever you want to name it to be. There's other ways of doing it too. You can think of, okay, maybe a friend of yours could fit into your audience. Maybe it's a past version of yourself. A lot of times for a lot of people, it's a past version of themselves, especially when they're teaching something. It's like, I wish I had this 10 years ago. It's like, cool, you know your story really well then. What were you going through that caused you to need this content? How are you transformed because of it? I get a lot of people who come in and they'll tell me, the surface level, what their audience is looking for is, okay, well, they're looking at how to make more money, or they're looking for how to build stuff, for how to build a house, or whatever that may be. I was like, cool, we know that, but what is it? Why do they want that? Why do they need that? Why are they coming to you? What about you are they coming for that they could find from somebody else, but they can only get from you, right? That sort of thing. So mining those questions deeper, of the deeper why behind of what it is they're trying to accomplish, or the emotional impact of how your content's going to change them, really triggers to think about, oh yeah, that's more than just making money for me. It's more about that's spending more time with my kids. That's really what I want to accomplish.
So, like, what are some real practical ways that you can, if I was a creator, like some questions that I could actually ask myself?
You are a creator, Ingrid.
I am a creator. You're a fan. We're all creators. But like, if for the audience who's listening, you stop.
Sorry.
What are some practical questions that they could like ask themselves? Because you two are strategists, right?
We are, yeah.
And you have done this so many times with hundreds of people.
Yeah.
So what are those practical questions?
Yeah, a good place to start is give the person a name. Don't think of them as a group, a collective group of people. Think of it as an individual, and the first thing you can do is give them a name. So you can start with the name, then we can start to talk about, okay, what are some of their likes and dislikes? What do they enjoy doing? Where does your channel come into play with this? You can dig deeper from there. What in their life right now. And I actually like to, whatever name that they give, let's just say, for example, it's Bob. I like to, when I keep asking questions, to really name this person. Okay, so what is Bob in his life right now? What are the biggest struggles or the biggest obstacles that he's coming up against? It can be anything. And so we write some of these things down. Okay, great. What is the thing that he really wants? And again, in his life right now, where he's currently at, if he's studying, and you can get really specific. If he's studying a specific, maybe he's studying like a mathematics degree in college because his brain works that way. And, he's struggling to get confidence to go talk to people. And he just really wants to learn how to feel more confident in talking with people because he just feels lonely. He doesn't have a lot of friends. This is just kind of off the top of my head. But if you can get some of this information and just write it down, that can go a long way. But those are maybe just some more practical questions to ask to kind of dig deeper into that.
Yeah, one way I approach talking to clients, when bringing up target audience, I think about, okay, ask the client, what is your ideal viewer dealing with right now that's driving them to look for your content? What are they dealing with in their everyday life? What's the emotional impact? So let's say, Sam, give me a niche. We can go from there.
Guitar,
okay. What is it about guitar that's driving them to look? Actually, I'll do it for you, Sam. How about that?
Yeah.
What is it about guitar that's driving people to look for your content? Why do they need your content?
Because they just want to learn how to be as great of a guitar player as I am.
Okay. And what are they dealing with right now? What are they dealing with right now? That's causing, what's the emotional impact they're having right now? That's like, I need this. I need help. Like, what are they feeling?
Yeah. Okay. I'll answer it for real because that was a joke. Okay. Just so everybody knows.
Be good, Sam.
I would say for this person, they're really interested in learning this because they maybe hold a job that like they're a creative person, but their job doesn't allow them to explore that creativity. So they're really hungry for just some sort of outlet, something to express themselves, something that they can really grow with too, and get better and improve this sort of creative outlet that they have.
What does the creativity do for them?
It makes them feel really fulfilled because their normal life, their job kind of sucks that away. It doesn't feel very fulfilling for them.
All right.
So
let's say they can't find your content. They're looking for you, but they just can't find you. What's going to happen to them in the long run?
So the stakes for them probably would be, maybe sounds dramatic. I was about to say doomed. That's maybe a bit of a dramatic word to use, but they're probably going to just be stuck feeling like there's no way for them to grow and invest in this creative outlet. And they're going to be kind of stuck in this rut that they've been in with this job, kind of their normal 9 to 5, their normal life, and that they're going to remain there. That's probably the biggest stakes for them.
Yeah. Okay. How do you think how do you want them to leave your channel feeling? Like, come they find your content, they get the value. What's that transformation for them?
Yeah, inspiration is the big thing. The thing that's going to make them, it gives them hope to feel like this is something that I can do and I can get better at, and I can maybe even build something out of this, whether that's I can go join a band, kind of have a community element with that too, or I can just get better and I'm not going to remain stuck where I'm at right now.
Can I push back on that a little bit?
Sure, please.
Because inspiration can always also come across as like a little bit of a vague word. So what exactly does that inspiration actually look like?
I would say the inspiration fuels them to keep going. Because I also, after I had said inspiration, I said hope too. I think the two are connected. I think when they're feeling inspired to keep pouring time and energy into learning how to play the guitar better and sort of this invest in this creative outlet, it's going to give them hope to keep going. Like they can actually do this. They can actually maybe play like some of the people that they really look up to, or play like the bands that they like a lot, and they're not going to stay stuck or give up.
So does inspiration actually, like, define that term? What exactly does that mean? I think the thing here is really, this is really digging in, and this is mining in, because being inspired is great, but what exactly does that look like for you? And what does it look like for your viewer? And clearly it's something that Sam had even is just scratching on to just put to words. And that's totally okay. These aren't the things that happen in 5 minutes, right, guys? These exercises, they do not take just a few minutes.
I don't think they ever stop. I think it's a constant.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But I am curious, though, and just hearing you, because, and the reason I say this, I'll be very vulnerable here, is I find myself using that language too. But like, what does that actually mean? Even for myself, and art. When I say I'm here to inspire you, doing what? What's the actual thing that I'm doing to do that as an artist? So dig deeper, I think, is kind of like the point, right?
Yeah, this is like, this is a way consultations go all the time. It's a lot of like,
yeah,
that's a hard question. Oh, I've never thought about that. And that's the point. It's to push you to think outside of the box that you're so used to living in at the same time. And again, like we said, I think this is an ongoing thing that I encourage creators as we work through it. I'm like, don't feel like you have to get this right now, here in this moment. This can be something that's refined over the next 5 years. Like, it's constantly changing the more you understand yourself, your audience, as you evolve, as your audience evolves. Like, it's never a set in stone thing. It's good to have clarity on it, but remember that totally. The more you play with it, the more you understand the journey, the clearer things get over time.
Yeah, and I feel like we've done that also here at Video Creators too, right, guys? We've refined our audience over and over and over. We've changed it. We've pivoted over the years. But it is still, we revisit every single year what exactly is our person, and our person's named Benny. What is Benny really looking for, right? And Sam, I don't know if you feel the same like me, is especially the longer you're on the platform, sometimes you begin to question, what exactly is their struggle this year?
Yeah, well, I feel like that's an important thing to say, that you don't have to stick with one person or one avatar, I guess. Like,
that's a great point.
You can always change that, or maybe there's a version 2.0 for your channel and the person that you're going after. So 100%. It doesn't have to remain the same.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. Well, that was a fun little exercise.
Question for both of you then. Not once we dig through all that, just for practical application, how does this then benefit some of our videos or the way we approach our content, titles and thumbnails? After knowing what we know now, maybe about Sam, how would you approach a video differently, thinking about this?
Yeah, I feel like knowing these things when we talk about titles and thumbnails a lot, we use the word curiosity, something that sparks curiosity. And so usually the follow-up question is, well, what is that? What does curiosity mean? And so I think a lot of knowing these things really falls in line with that. Like if you can really touch on the pain point where somebody, they're experiencing an obstacle, or you can really know exactly what they want and pitch that value or that reward in a title or a thumbnail, or even just kind of integrate some of that language into the content itself, into the video. Those will be the little connection points that get somebody who doesn't know who you are yet to see that and be like, oh my gosh, this is for me. Like I got to click into this video, or they'll hear it in the video, be like, yes, this is for me. This is the right channel for me. I got to stick around. I got to subscribe. So knowing your audience that well really can lead to some of those connector points.
Yeah, I feel like what you said was so important. Language is everything, right? And if you approach, and kind of like when we were talking about when we opened up the podcast today, really talking about approaching things a little bit more generically and a little bit more from a broader perspective, you haven't really defined what the language is of your specific audience. And I feel like everything that Sam just said is just really crucial, because it makes titling things easier. It makes the emotional triggers a little bit easier. It sounds calculated when I say that, but really, I mean, that's kind of how we really think of it too, is who exactly are we talking to? Why are we talking to them? And what's their language? Because it's sometimes you can craft, the title is perfect. It has that essence of the video, but it's not performing. And a simple language switch, more of the language to your person, can make all the difference in the world, right, guys?
Yeah, I mean, pitching the benefit and rewards to the viewer in the title. I mean, if I now knowing Sam's, avatar wants to play like the people he's always dreamed of, that could be the focus of my video. Okay, here's like teaching you, like I kind of think of a title right now, but the idea of like the reward being able to play like a certain band, or playing the song you thought was impossible. Here's how to do it in a simple way. But now it's targeting towards the things that I really want, or how to feel confident about as a new musician in a new band. Like I think as I was learning to play guitar myself, like I did not feel confident in it, and I was looking for videos to help me find that confidence. But someone targeting that for me will draw me in, seeing that word, because that's exactly the emotion that I'm feeling.
Yeah. So we've talked about target audience, and we can probably talk about target audience all day long, but the power in that really is also in utilizing it with the value that you bring, right? So why don't you guys give me a practical definition of what a value proposition even is and why it's vital?
I think for me, when I tell creators, once we dig into the target audience, it's like, okay, we know the person, we know the emotions, we know what they're looking for. We need to communicate to them why this is the place for that, to receive all those things they're looking for. And a lot of times people's value propositions will be very much, I ask them, what it's very surface level, you'll get this, you'll get this, you'll get this. It's like, cool, I'll get this, but what does that do for me? What is it doing for the viewer? So having the formula of like what we talk about a lot of times is like that, the head statement and the heart statement, the what and the why. Subscribe so you'll get this, so you can have this, so you can feel this, so you can become this, so you can transform into this, whatever that may be. Having both those elements there, leaning into that deeper emotion, because that's what makes you stand out. I can have 5 different channels that are about the same different niche, but what makes yours emotionally more engaging than the rest of them?
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that. I think a lot of times too, what we get is a whole lot of kind of word vomit when we ask that question of, well, yeah, somebody would want to subscribe because, the content production quality is really high and I do this really well and I'm the best in my field and this thing. And there's a whole lot of stuff there. And a lot of times it's very kind of credibility focused too. Yeah. It's, well, I'm the best out there. I'm the authority in this space. And it's all great. Like that's all really awesome stuff. But really focusing from the audience's perspective on like, but what does it do for them? Where are they at in the story? What is the why behind your channel? What your channel is going to give them? So sometimes I even like to ask, like, if somebody, random person, were just to tap your shoulder as you were walking down the street, and they're like, "Hey, why should I subscribe to your YouTube channel?" Framing it that way, like, are you able to succinctly say it? Because again, that question is hard because it's kind of like, well, you should subscribe because this and this and this and this and this. And so a lot of times if you aren't super clear on that, your audience isn't going to be clear on what you're about and why. So if you can have that down pat, if you can have it down crystal clear on exactly what your channel is and what it offers this viewer and why it matters to them, and you can succinctly know that and it's clear, that's going to be clear for your audience too, which makes a big difference.
Do you guys have any practical exercises for somebody to help mine if they don't feel like they have it?
I think Sammy mentioned the idea of doing like subscribe to my channel because, and we asked that a lot in consultations, and I usually get people freezing like a deer in headlights when I ask because they never thought about it before. Asking yourself that, but thinking in the context of the viewer, subscribe to my channel because what are they going to get? Because you are going to get this, you're going to have this. But that forces you to think again immediately towards your target audience. What are they going to gain from it? But then I also, at the same time too, like I can say, subscribe to my channel because, and they'll give me a very surface level answer. Okay, so that what? So that you, as the audience, gets this. And sometimes I'll do that 2 or 3 times. I'm asking, okay, cool. So that what? So let's say, for example, it could be subscribe to my channel because I'll give you the best guitar tips. So that what? So that you can play the songs you always dreamed of. Okay, so that what? So that you feel like a confident guitar player. So that what? So you feel fulfilled about being a musician. It keeps going down layer deeper and deeper and deeper. And sometimes I'll challenge some people that I've worked with to do that to the point where they run out of ideas. But at that point, they've gotten so deep into the emotional value that it makes sense. This is the deeper why that somebody's actually looking for.
Yeah, that's so good. I really like the question, what else? Mm-hmm. So when somebody gives you something and it's like, great, so they'll become a better guitar player. Then what? What else? And then maybe there's something past that. Awesome. Let's say they get that too. Then what else past that? And that usually helps kind of spur that conversation too of getting deeper.
Yeah. And one of the things that I've always done with creators too is a lot of times they land on the what, and it's kind of close to a why, but it's not quite there. You can sense that there's the thing underneath that thing that they haven't quite gotten to. And so one of the most powerful questions I ask them is, what do they get when they have blank? So what do they get when they are inspired by what they hear? And then if you still feel like you're just kind of scratching the surface on that, lean into what's the emotion behind that. Because generally, if you're thinking about why, it's usually around that. It's usually around an emotional connection, a deeper feeling of something, right? Mm-hmm. What's the importance of going beyond describing just what you do?
I think it helps you stand out from other creators. There's a lot of creators on YouTube, and most likely there's a lot of other creators making the same content as you. And so if everything is just surface level, I'm just a guitar channel, there's a bunch of other guitar channels. So if you're able to kind of package your content in a way where it's, I'm a guitar channel, but I help you ultimately achieve this, whatever the why is, that's going to set you apart. And it'll more quickly resonate with a first-time viewer and get them to want to come back.
I love that. What about when things don't really fit into a formula? How else can we really lean into communicating this for an audience?
Like a belief, like a creed is one way of doing it. So picking something, again, one way, like for example, I use it quite a bit, we use quite often is yes theory, like their value proposition for their audience, the why, is life's greatest moments, deepest connections are outside your comfort zone. But their belief is seek discomfort. Something that people can rally behind. It can be as simple as that. It draws back to the value, but it can be as simple as, for example, for Sam, it could be, you have every right to play, but play like the guitarist of your dreams. Like, it's a belief behind that, or you don't need the best equipment to be an impactful YouTuber. Like, it's a belief around there too, right? So there's different ways to form that, and you can have multiple of those that communicate value in really short, distinct ways. And even, for example, too, when I work with creators who, as we work through target audience and value proposition, and they feel like I have no idea what my value is, but as we're chatting, they'll give me 5 or 6 different creeds or beliefs that are just like, for me, like, wow, I write them down as they're talking. I'm like, you've just given me all the value that you didn't realize was there. So it can be as simple as how are you wanting to impact somebody? What is that emotional change you're trying to give them? And that's that formula there.
Yeah, there was a creator that I worked with who had a channel all about teaching people how to play the harp. She had a great value proposition that was it was a creed. It's never too late to learn how to play the harp. And I thought that was great because her target audience was a bit further along in life and was very specific towards them. And it's the kind of thing that person, if they were to see that in their journey and stumble across this channel, they would immediately connect with that, because that's probably, when we're talking about obstacles and stakes and pain points and kind of where they're at in their story, that audience is probably telling that to themselves every day. Like, oh, it's too late to kind of pursue this dream of mine. So to see that language in kind of that creed packaging is really powerful.
I love that. So if I were to put you guys on the spot, right? You can either role play this or just give me some examples. How would you create like value propositions around, say, a fitness niche or a food niche or a gaming niche or any other niche, a vlogging niche?
I mean, again, what is it they're really wanting from it? So if I think fitness niche, a lot of what I would hear maybe would be subscribe to my channel because I'll teach you how to eat healthier, or I'll teach you how to get in the best shape of your life, or I'll teach you how to use weights properly, or the science behind getting healthy. It's like, cool, yeah, that's what I'm looking for, but what is the real reason I want to get healthy? There's always a deeper why to somebody wanting to do that. So for me, for a channel like that, it could be effective strategies for fitness to restore confidence in your body and who you are is really what they're looking for. Somebody wants to feel confident in themselves. Is that deeper why? So that's one.
I think that's so strong. I think I was even also thinking of the fitness niche as well. If we had a target audience that was maybe like kind of like the midlife crisis dad, maybe like in his 50s, and had a channel around like, healthy eating habits so you can keep up with your kids or something like that. So now it's very specific for this person who has kids and probably is struggling with this pain point of like, I just want to spend more time with my kids and play with them, but I'm out of shape and I can't. Something like that. That's a deeper why would resonate with that person too.
Yeah. And then even for the idea of gaming niches too, I mean, was a lot of people who want to do let's play content. Cool. Let's have a deeper why people want to play this game, or why do people play video games to begin with? For me, it could be an escape from reality. I'm stressed out from, it could be college all day, school, work. I play games because it distracts me from everything else going on, or I'm looking for something that gives me joy, gives me life. Or I'm just looking for a community, and there's a lot of really strong gaming communities. So it could be, in providing a safe space to enjoy the games we love while escaping the stress of the world. Right now, that's a two-parter. We're doing the games, but we're also pointing out the real thing they're trying to get out of it.
And I always think too, like, I think of one of our creators that we've worked with. Her channel is around keto, and it's like her favorite recipes. She's a cooking channel, favorite recipes turned keto, so that you feel good, you stay focused and on track, because that's like the deeper thing that you want. And anybody who's watching that is going to resonate with that, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm curious though, now that you have like this clarity around who you're talking to and why, what value you're actually bringing, what are some practical ways of communicating that to the audience?
I think the first and probably the easiest lift is go work on your channel page. Do you have a channel trailer? What does your channel banner say? You have a about section. A lot of times, again, like the channel page is not going to be this crazy earth shattering. You're not going to blow your channel up tomorrow and get like millions and millions of subscribers. But I think it's a really actually underrated place to meet the viewer, especially the first time viewer, because usually when we think of kind of like the viewer journey or the subscriber journey, most likely you've got their attention from a video that popped up on their homepage and you enticed them to click and watch it. So they watched it. And then ideally you've used some of this language, value proposition. It's been specific enough to them where they've kind of been like, oh, this is pretty cool. I'm going to go check out the channel. Then they land on your channel page. And then from there, if we can meet them there with some of this language, the value proposition language, maybe in a short channel trailer, they see it in your channel banner, maybe they click on your about section, and all of that language is consistent in all of these places, they'll be able to immediately kind of make that mental decision of, oh, this is for me. I'm going to stick around. I'm going to subscribe. Or, oh yeah, this isn't really for me, which is great. If you can make that distinction for somebody, that's actually a really good thing. So optimizing some of those things in your channel space can be pretty quick and pretty easy, but it can actually help a lot.
Yeah, even the idea behind creeds as well too. I mean, if we're thinking of even people who are just finding or discovering you, I mean, having multiple creeds that tie back to the value of your channel, just saying those, not saying you have to say it every single video, but if it makes sense, especially in the transformation of your story, you could use that creed and say it. But at that point, you're seeding the value of their channel. So it gets just having those multiple seeds. They could watch multiple videos and never go to your channel, but now they understand without having to go to your channel what the value is. That when they get there, like, oh yeah, this is all cohesive. This all makes sense together.
Yeah, I feel like there are other opportunities too where you can kind of share it in little ways too, like your value proposition. You could practically put it even into a branded intro, right? Just have that little branding spot and have that value right there so that, you know, as you're crafting, let's say something for a discoverable audience, you don't know who's coming to your channel. You're crafting this for a non-subscriber, right? They don't know you. And that branded intro comes in within the first, 15 seconds of your video usually. That's a real quick, practical way of making that mark where somebody's going to be like, oh, it's not just about the branding. It's about communicating the value that you bring to the viewer before they've even gotten into the content. Now that makes you a little bit more interesting, especially if they came to you from search. Because if they're coming from search, they're there for a thing. So, there are, like you said, you don't have to necessarily say it in every single video, but I think that the more authentically you can work in those creeds and you can work in your value proposition, if it's something that you deeply believe, even if it's the formulaic one, think of like the cooking channel, your favorite foods turn keto. In any video that she makes on her channel, she could very easily say, because this is about turning your favorite foods keto, so that you're staying on track. See, I didn't even say the whole thing, but it was part of it. Because anybody watching that's what they feel, because that's why they're doing it in the first place, right? But it's about working things in organically in a moment. That can be very powerful, right? Any other thoughts here, guys, on this for the viewers? Viewers, the audience, listeners?
I mean, I kind of like, I feel like I need to say this with a caveat. I was going to say, I like the idea of having maybe small little variations that you can just integrate it into your video. And I want to say with a caveat that it shouldn't constantly be changing and unclear to the audience what you're about. So I would definitely say for more of the like branding spaces, like in your channel space, like the banner in your about section in your trailer, like there should be pretty consistent language, or if you have like a sales page on a website somewhere, that should be consistent. But I think if you're going to authentically and genuinely incorporate some of that language into your content, I think it's totally okay and actually encouraged to maybe have, what does the short version of your value proposition look like? Or depending on this particular video, what is a way for you to just add some of that language in as a little reminder? Like you had just said, like, yeah, this is why I do what I do. Because I always feel like I'm on track keep making these recipes keto, and that's why I want to make these for you too, because they've helped me, something like that, where you can incorporate the value proposition language, but it's kind of just more seamlessly integrated and not so robotic, like, and remember, next time, I'm Sam and I help you do this so you can do that. It just feels kind of like a commercial versus like an actual conversation.
Right? Yeah, I feel like that's a total trap that people fall into. So I'm curious now, you piqued my curiosity here a little bit with what you just said there, Sam. What if you're a vlogging channel? How do you work that in?
Like the value proposition language?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like with a vlogging channel, well, okay, so I feel like for more like educational channels, it's a lot easier to have a value proposition that's kind of that formulaic, the what and why. I help you do this so that you can blank, ultimately get this. For more vlog style channels, that it's more of like, we're going on an adventure together, and I don't even know what the day holds yet, but we're experiencing this thing together. I see normally creeds fall into that sort of thing more as a value proposition. Like there was a vlog channel that I just recently worked with, and their whole thing was about choose happy. That was kind of their creed. Like, no matter kind of where you're at, if you kind of go into your day and not choosing happy, you're probably going to have a bad day. So let's just try to make the best out of our circumstances. And even like some of what I'm saying here are like little variations of how to unpack choose happy. So for her, it was a great example. And maybe this is kind of answering the question that you had asked, Ingrid. For her, it was choose happy was in all her branding. It was clear, like, this is what the channel's about. But there's so many ways to unpack that and naturally integrate that into their content. So maybe if there just was a random example of like, maybe they all went and got ice cream and then one of them dropped their ice cream on the ground and they're like, oh man, that stinks. But you know what? I'm going to choose happy right now. It's okay. This is not going to mess up my day. And they can just kind of make it a part of the video. It's authentic, but it also fits kind of their overall value proposition.
Kind of becomes part of their life almost.
Yeah.
So you like eat, sleep, and breathe the creeds.
Right.
A little. Right? Because I think in those channels, like you said, they don't know what's happening. It's not like they have a script and shots, and maybe they do. That's definitely one way to vlog. But most creators, is like they don't really know what the day holds for them. So I think having a creed that you deeply believe in, that just naturally and authentically works into whatever situation or scenario you're in, would be a good plan of attack.
Right. Well, I know we were talking about Yes Theory earlier too, and they actually, in their videos, they'll be like, on a plane about to go skydiving, and they'll look at each other and be like, seek discomfort, right? And then they go do the thing, and it's, as the viewer, you can totally feel what they're feeling, but that kind of consistency is really, that through line is there within all their content.
Yeah, completely. Do you guys have any traps that you feel creators can fall into with this kind of stuff at all?
One that comes to mind, it might just be kind of that like robotic delivery.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
And I know we were talking about maybe like a branded spot or like a short little personal introduction at the beginning of the video, which it can be actually great to have those things. But I think depending on how it's delivered, it can feel a bit inauthentic if every single video is the, hey, welcome back, and my name is Sam, and I'm going to teach you YouTube strategy so you can do, and it just feels kind of like, I don't know, it doesn't, it feels like a commercial. It feels kind of salesy maybe. So that can be a trap. It's not to say that you can't do it well. Maybe you have slight variations in the way that you begin your videos, and if it's authentic in the way you do it, it's not so black and white, I guess. But I'm always a big fan of maybe let's not do that. And how could we really authentically weave in some of that language in a good place in our video? And it's not so just kind of, I don't know, commercially like that.
Yeah, I think the need to put it in every single video too doesn't have to be. Like, it makes sense to put it in some videos and not others. Whether, like, depending on the story, type of video. If it's a community video, it might be a little bit easier, but not feeling that pressure to have to say it. But there are ways you can also just show it too when it comes to your content as well.
Yeah, I feel like to foster a stronger sense of connection and loyalty, It's so crucial to remember to create content that's going to deeply, deeply resonate with your viewers. And the more that you know your audience, the better your content will serve them. And ultimately, the faster your channel is going to grow, right?
Every week, we love to leave you guys with a power tip, something new that YouTube is doing on the platform. And this week, I'd love to chat a bit about the YouTube Shopping Affiliate Program that's now eligible to US creators. There is a bit of a benchmark to hit, which is 20,000 subscribers, but that gives you access to allowing you to tag products from your favorite retailers and brands in your videos, so your viewers can see the products you're recommending, they can click on those, they can purchase through those links, and you actually get a percentage, depending on the product, of commission towards that, which is really, really cool. A great way to showcase the products you want to showcase and making the experience seamless for the audience members as well. You know, a lot of these tips are really great when it comes to figuring out who our audience is, the value or proposition of our channel. But again, how do we communicate this effectively to our audience? Because the biggest thing is, we need to convince them this is the right place to be. And if you're struggling with that and you want some tips around making your channel clear about that, this video right here will show you exactly how to do that. And it's going to be super beneficial for you. And we'll see you there. Thanks for watching the Video Creators Podcast. See you next week. Bye.